All right. Hey, everybody. Ken Gouchi back at you again with the veteransangle.com. Uh, you know, I've really been trying to come up with some new ideas on good content and things to do. And so I think a lot of what I'm going to start doing is really just kind of recording and documenting my journey, my own personal journey. And maybe I can talk to some people along the way and see some cool things, and maybe I can teach some people some things. Maybe I can't. Maybe people just tell me to shut the hell up and go away. But what I've done here, so a couple of weeks ago, me and my son decided to take a trip to New York, and we had a big thing planned out and everything, and it didn't go exactly how we planned, but it was still a phenomenal trip. So what I'd kind of like to do is I'd kind of like to take some of you on that journey, kind of show y'all what I experienced a little bit, and maybe see if we can learn some things along the way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of narrate a little bit. This will probably be a pretty short episode, hopefully maybe 15, 20 minutes max. And I'm just going to I've recorded a couple of videos of me driving through some towns. My phone actually broke down on me after we got to New York, and so I wasn't able to continue recording anymore. But we'll get to that point and we'll talk about it a little bit. And so really my primary focus right now is actually the Statue of Liberty. This was the primary focus of this trip, and it was actually it was the key focal point of everything, because I truly believe that if you have never seen the Statue of Liberty, that is the one thing in this world that everybody should see if they have an opportunity to do it. But let's get on it, man. Let's go ahead and look at this and see what we got, and see if we can come up with some good stuff. I'm gonna kind of be popping in and out here a little bit and kind of narrate everything. I think let's see here. I'm gonna have to adjust my screen again. But yeah, let's see what we got here, and see if we can have some cool stuff. All right, let's get it rocking and rolling right here. Hey everybody, Ken Gouchi back at you again with the Veterans Angle podcast. So what I'm doing right now is I'm actually taking a cross-country trip with my son. We're just kind of heading, really, we're going from Oklahoma up to New York State. So we're going to kind of hit some landmarks and maybe see some cool things along the way. I basically have just left Oklahoma City, heading up I-44 going towards Tulsa. So I'll basically hit like Tulsa, St. Louis, probably like Indianapolis. Then I'll probably jump up to Chicago and then maybe down the Rust Belt line or something like that. Maybe we'll see. But anyway, we're just going to take a week or two and just kind of travel around, and this is really my opportunity to spend as much time with my son as I can. For all of you guys out there, one of the things that I'm going to start harping on a lot is how important it is to live a life where you are surrounded by your children and your wife or your women or whatever your relationship system is. It's important to have that family dynamic. The nuclear family is one of the strongest and most crucial elements to human survival that there is. And so I'm going to start talking a lot more about this kind of stuff. And for everybody who doesn't know, if you ever listened to my old podcast, it kind of revolved around masculinity and family values and all that kind of stuff. So I'm really going to start integrating some of that into this new Veterans Angle stuff. So like I said, as we're driving, I'm going to hit some different landmarks, and we'll maybe take a couple of different videos and maybe do some interviews with some people that we meet along the way. But I'm really looking forward to this journey, and thanks for coming along with me. We'll see you soon. Take care. So yeah, kind of going back to my key point there, one of the important things that our society seems to be forgetting is the nuclear family, right? And I know a lot of us kind of grew up with that being drilled into our heads. Obviously there's a pretty strong religious component to that, right? I mean, a lot of people, they understand the importance. Religion especially always understood the importance of a nuclear family. And that's why it preaches so much about, not getting divorced and stuff like that. I've never personally believed that it is a commandment from God. I don't believe that anybody is going to go to hell for getting divorced or anything like that. But it does disrupt society, right? And the breakup of the nuclear family, one of the reasons that we see America kind of falling apart the way that it is, or really Western civilization entirely, is because nobody has a strong nuclear family anymore. And man, I preach about this a lot because I don't think people really get it. The religious side, all they can focus on is their faith in God, and so everything to them is coming from God's mouth. But the other side of the equation, they don't believe in any of that, so they don't want to hear it. And it's like, well, when people actually start to just look at the base science of it and just start looking at the sociological aspect of it, societies cannot function when kids are being raised by single moms, and when kids don't know their dads, and when sons aren't raised with proper masculine values, right? This is what starts to break societies down, and that's what we're starting to see in America. And so this is really why it's so important for me to get this message out there, but not only to preach about it, but to also, to practice what I'm preaching. And one of the things that I do is I try to spend as much time with my son as humanly possible. This dude works with me. He's 13 and going on 25. He is my guardian angel. And I cannot allow to have happen to him what happened with me and my dad, right? Everybody who knows me kind of knows that story, and we'll get into it a little bit more as I continue with these episodes and start making more and more. But for now, I really just wanted to kind of push this message. Any chance you have to spend time with your children, do it. Do it. Just don't even ask the question. Just do it. Get out there, explore, travel, keep going. Let's hit this next video. I think is me coming up into Indianapolis. Let's see it's probably nighttime. Let's see. Or no, actually, I stand corrected. So what I've got here is does anybody know where the Sky Bridge is at in between Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Joplin, Missouri, going up that interstate, I-44? There's a Sky Bridge that kind of goes over the highway, and so I stopped there right quick. There's a cool there, and so I'll just kind of that's just me standing at the one direction. I think that was west, and then here's on the other side for the eastbound traffic. But let's keep going. Here's another little short video. All right, just coming into downtown St. Louis here right quick. I'm coming in from the south side, so I already passed the big Pyramid Bass Pro thing over there. But this is such an interesting city. One of the things that's always so nice about history is learning how the origins of these cities started. And when you've got these big, huge, major cities like St. Louis and Chicago, Atlanta, there's just so much history here. And I really wish that more people would be able to get out there and explore and just kind of see all the things, but kind of do a panoramic view and kind of get all the stuff here. So really, that's downtown St. Louis, and obviously the old town over there. But all the big buildings and everything, it's a city that never stops growing. And I can imagine back in its heyday, I can imagine that this was a beautiful city. It had probably a lot of stuff going for it back in those days. All right, if I can avoid getting lost here, let's see. Let's try to get on this road going eastbound. Yeah, let's hit this road right here. This will work. And then we're coming into East St. Louis, and y'all can see the Mississippi River down there. Maybe when we come back through this way, maybe look at the news chopper up there. St. Louis is a rough city, man. There's a lot of shit. There's a lot of crime here. But it is what it is. I mean, it's just one of those things. So we're gonna head towards Indianapolis. So let's hit that, get in that lane, and yeah, man, that's it. We'll catch you again in Indianapolis. See you then. So, I drive through so many cities and I've been to so many different cities. Sometimes I forget which city I'm in. I think when I was talking about the pyramid, I might have been talking about Memphis. I can't remember. I don't even know if St. Louis has that Bass Pro Shop pyramid I was talking about in the beginning of that clip, but I honestly can't remember. But normally when I come into St. Louis, I'd be coming from the direction of like Kansas City. So I would typically be coming from the west into the east. But this time was a little bit different. This was the first time that I drove up from the south and coming up from like Tulsa and then, up through like Joplin, Missouri and up through that highway up there. So, the south end of St. Louis, I've never really explored that area. I didn't even know St. Louis had a Six Flags, but that's fantastic. I really do want to go and explore that city a little bit more. It's just like I said, this actually even kind of goes back into that nuclear family discussion that I'm kind of pushing out there, because the reason that places like St. Louis and Chicago and Detroit, the reason that they have become so just run down is because there's so many kids growing up without dads in those cities, man. And it's not anything against anyone. Everybody kind of does the best that they know how to do. But these cities that were just once like sprawling just beautiful metropolitan areas, within the last 50 or 60, maybe 70 years of democratic policies, right? So you've got just straight socialism, basically. Nobody wants to work. Nobody's growing up with any type of moral value. And that's what happens to these cities is they just turn into shitholes, man. They just turn into straight, crime-ridden, basically concrete jungles is what they turn into. And it's unfortunate because, like I said, St. Louis, it is the terrain around that city is so beautiful. It's very similar to me. It's very similar to Atlanta, Georgia, right? Atlanta is a truly beautiful city. The location of it, the terrain, the topography, all that stuff, the trees, the lakes and the rivers that are around it. I mean, these are the types of environments when the first settlers, kind of started picking their areas where they were going to build their cities. Obviously, you needed a water source. Obviously, you needed, all kinds of different things to build a society. And that's what these cities started at. They started as little tiny villages that were in the perfect location. They had that water source, those rivers. They had lots of wildlife because of the mountains and the trees. And they started growing and expanding. And then over time, they just turned into concrete jungles. But a lot of it has to do with the fact that families break apart and they didn't stay together. And so people just grew up without having that type of structure in their life. And so this is why it's so important for fathers to actually be fathers and do things with your kids that are going to actually impact them. Right? Your job is to influence. Just like I'm trying to influence people with my podcast, that's no different than being a parent. It is our job to influence our children into growing up to be good, productive adults. So trips like this mean a lot to kids, and just being able to spend that time with their parents and growing and learning and seeing historical sites. These are important things that no amount of public education is not going to teach them this stuff. You got to get out there and do it for them. All right, let's keep going. Man, I forgot to turn off my background there, so forgive me. This whole setup is all new. I'm using a kind of a combination between OBS and a couple of different programs, kind of integrating it all into one. So this is all new for me. So just bear with me. It's going to take me a couple of episodes to really fine point all this stuff and get it to where I want it to be. But let's go ahead and continue on and see what we got. Now I'm coming into Indianapolis. And for those of you who've never been to Indianapolis, I love Indianapolis. It's really a cool city.
For being kind of in that Rust Belt area, Indianapolis to me is one of the cleaner cities over there. I don't know, maybe I might be wrong, but I've done a lot of work there over the years, and I've always enjoyed the people there. I've always enjoyed the city, and we're coming into it at nighttime here. So at this point, we had been driving for 10 hours, I
Go.
think, something like that.
All
Let's
right,
check it out.
guys. We're, I don't know, it's about 10 o'clock at night. We are just now coming through Indianapolis, Indiana. So we are about halfway to New York from Oklahoma City. So as you guys can see, the beautiful skyline, the Indianapolis skyline over there. A whole bunch of lights over there, just all kinds of cool shit. Here, get a picture of this. The Lucas Oil building, stadium. That's the Lucas Stadium. That's the Indianapolis Colts football stadium right there. Pretty cool stuff, man. Beautiful city. So we'll hit you on the next city. Till then, take care.
So one of the things too, for a lot of people who kind of know a little bit more about me, I am not a follower of professional sports. I do not watch the NFL. Every now and again, I will go to a Major League Baseball game or something like that. I really enjoyed doing that when we lived in Atlanta because I really like the Atlanta Braves. They've got a really nice stadium there. But I do not support the whole woke, kneeling and all that kind of crap. And so therefore I refuse to spend my money on any of that stuff. It's not that I don't enjoy the sport itself, but I've got two issues with it. The first issue is that I played football growing up, and I'm a decent sized guy, and I did pretty good at football. I've got a lot of relatives that played football and enjoyed it. I've got a lot of wrestlers and basketball players and all that kind of stuff in my family too. So it's not the sport that I dislike. It's simply the wokeness. I refuse to support this wokeness. And when I drive by these big fancy stadiums, like Atlanta's got, the new Mercedes-Benz stadium, and, Dallas obviously has their new Cowboy stadium. It's probably, I don't know, probably about 10 years old or something like that. And, same thing like Indianapolis with Lucas Oil Stadium. The amount of money that is going into these facilities, and what bothers me about it is, so these cities, they charge the residents there to build these places, right? You pay for it with your taxes. And then these major league teams come in and they generate billions upon billions of dollars in revenue. And yet the taxpayers are still on the hook for paying for the whole thing. And it's just like, man, to me, it's a pretty messed up system. I really have a problem with the wokeness, and I really have a problem with the way that the government tricks its own citizenry into paying for it all, even though it's a recreational thing and should be paying for itself. I have a problem with that. And so here again, this is kind of one of those, I guess some people might think it's like a hard right extreme view, but to me, that's one of my issues that I have. I love seeing these places. I love looking at the architecture and the design. I really do love them as far as the structural aspect, but I just don't spend my money going into them or anything like that. And I can tell you, this whole athletic thing, this whole competitive nature that America has is really unique to America, but it's also one of these things that's a serious detriment to our society because people take it so seriously, and it's just not that serious to me. Let's keep going. So what we did really is I think we drove. I think that night we made it to like Dayton, Ohio, which is another shithole city. I can't stand Dayton, but I've done a lot of work there too, and I don't really ever want to go back, because I lived in Cincinnati for a while. That's really where I kind of started one of my construction companies and stuff, and so I know that area well. I've done a lot of work there. I do not like Dayton, but we stayed the night there. That's about how far we made it. So that was really kind of like right at the halfway point from where we live to New York City. Now, New York City, I want to say the GPS said it was like 22 hours away or something like that, but I made it there in about 18 hours. So really we drove for about 10 hours the first day, 10 or 11 hours the first day. and then about 8 hours the next day. I usually drive about 90, 95. Yes, I've gotten several speeding tickets over my life, and I just don't really care. I'm going to drive the way that I want to drive, and I take the risk. I do have a radar detector inside my truck, and so those are supposedly illegal, but I don't really care. If I get pulled over, I just disconnect it and throw it into under my seat real quick. But anyway, my point is, I'm not trying to tell any of you how to get away with speeding. I'm just saying I personally don't really care about the speed limit. Um, I wonder what George Washington would say if somebody tried telling him how fast he could ride his horse through somebody's town. I know. It's all about your safety, right? So anyway, we're going to start getting into more of that kind of stuff later on in later episodes. But for now, let's get back to my travels. And I didn't mean to go off on a rant there, but bottom line is we made it pretty far the first day, and it was a great drive. Let's get back on the road. I don't think I really had any more videos of any more cities. Like we drove through like Pittsburgh and then Philadelphia and then up through New Jersey. We hit Philadelphia. I-95 is where we ended up connecting, and so we went north on I-95. So that brings us into New York. Let's hit it.
All right, everybody coming into New York City. Man, we're city slickers up in this mofo. So check it out, man. We got all these beautiful, we're coming into Manhattan and Brooklyn. You can see all the high-rise buildings. You can see all the shipyards over there on the other side, over there in the port. Once we get out of these trees and stuff, y'all can kind of see what we're doing here. But basically, I mean, this is just such an amazing experience, man. If you've never been to New York City, please get out there and go. We're on our way to the Statue of Liberty right now, so we'll get back with you as soon as we get over there.
The funny thing about this whole trip too was, like my son has never been to New York City, but we've been to some other pretty big cities, right? And so every city has its skyline. They've got the big skyscrapers that like Seattle, right? I mean, it's known as the Emerald City, and it's just beautiful. A lot of cities have beautiful skylines. Some of the cities we drove through, like Indianapolis and St. Louis, but nothing compares to New York City. And man, when you are first driving up into that city and you're kind of coming up and you're seeing all the huge buildings, even like when you're coming up into like Newark, New Jersey, right? When you're coming up I-95 and you start seeing the skyline, and you see, you can see kind of like the ocean off in the distance, off to the east, and then you see it is mind-boggling. I can only imagine what like foreigners see that have never been to cities like that, like Tokyo or London or New York City, or like Buenos Aires or something like that. These people that have never been to these huge cities like this, and they come here. I bet it is just, I know for my son, he actually like felt a little anxious because he was like, man, those are the biggest buildings I've ever seen. And then we started going across bridges and all kinds of stuff. It was awesome. Let's keep going here.
Go. All right. We are coming up here to Ellis Island. We're on the old cobblestone streets. So y'all can see, I mean, we're in the thick of it, man. And this is such a beautiful place, man. I mean, after this, we're probably going to go to Central Park. Just to maybe walk around for a few minutes and everything. We're going to go over here and walk around at the Statue of Liberty too, and we'll take some more pictures and stuff while we're there. So just wanted to give an update real quick, man. This is awesome. I sure hope that all of you can get out there and travel and explore and see all the things that you want to see in life. This is what life is all about. So we'll talk to you here soon in a few more minutes.
Okay, so really, this whole thing, I accidentally said that we were on Ellis Island. So you can't drive onto Ellis Island, obviously, but we were in this video, we were still on the New Jersey side, getting ready to go onto the ferries. And so what I did from this point forward, for some reason, my phone broke down on me and wouldn't record anymore. So it kind of messed up my whole trip. But I did still take quite a few pictures and stuff. And so here, I'll just kind of navigate us through really some of these pictures and stuff. But basically, what we did, we were still on the New Jersey side. We parked in the parking lot. We walked up to the ferry station, and we had to go through like a almost like a TSA type security type thing. And so I'll just kind of walk us through some of these photos real quick. I probably won't do a whole lot of. Let's see what we got. So that's the sky into the city. I mean, obviously, that's Manhattan. So, um, it's so for somebody like me and for the rest of the people out there that are so big on freedom and so big on America and the things that this country represents. Back there in the background, there used to be the Twin Towers back there, if everybody remembers, and now they rebuilt Freedom Tower back there, and you can see it. But it is just it's almost like you can feel the energy when you and I'm still sitting across the bay. I'm on top of the walking bridge on this photo. Just amazing. See, like there's the bridge itself coming into. There's Manhattan. Really, when you look at all this stuff, I mean, it's just a lot of people have never even experienced driving into the city and seeing this stuff. It's just breath. The old shipyards and stuff. I don't know if y'all can see that very well, but here again, for people who have never been to a big city, let alone a port city, right? There's a lot of port cities in America that are not big, huge cities, right? Like Savannah, Georgia. Savannah is just a nice sized little town, but it's got a humongous uh, ocean port, and it's got a huge trading industry there where we get a lot of supplies from foreign countries coming in through our shipping ports. And this is the same thing. My son had never seen anything like this. And it was really cool to experience this. So, kind of going back, some of these old shipyards and stuff, like these are just kind of like apartment buildings and stuff. Here you go, like at the ferry yards. This is where we started encountering the crowds, right? So for all of you who have never been to someplace like New York or Tokyo or anything, the crowds. I mean, man, you got to watch your pockets. You got to watch you better watch everything on your body because there are so many people. And New York is actually a fairly safe place now. I mean, back in the day, like when I used to go there when I was younger, I mean, man, it was not uncommon to get hijacked and robbed like right there on the street. But New York is now, and it's actually a pretty friendly place to be. But the ferry station there, that's what I was talking about. So you can kind of see like the boat docks and everything. And we had to go through like a TSA security. They do offer veterans discount there. So I mean, I think I got 2 tickets. It was like $30 or something like that for two of us. Really cool. I mean, very that the inside of that building's awesome. Here's kind of taken away from the dock and everything, and then kind of floating away from the port, and then heading towards uh, the museum and then Ellis Island, and it's breathtaking. I mean, it is. You can feel like the millions of people that have traveled this waterway and landed there as immigrants coming into America. You can almost feel the excitement and the joy that they must have felt as they came rolling up through that port and seeing this statue right here. And then obviously once you're on the island walking around, there's always a lot of construction there, so it's kind of hard. And here again with the crowd, there's just. But what I always like to kind of walk around the entire perimeter. I've never been up top. I've never. Like, it was like $50 a ticket or something like that, and they weren't even letting people go all the way up. They were only letting people come up to like this level here. And so we just didn't want to waste the time to do it. But it would be a pretty cool experience if you ever do get up there and kind of see everything that is there to see. And here again, man, it's all about getting out there and seeing the world. That's all it is. Just experiencing things that nobody else gets to experience. And this is what means so much to it about going with my son and man, just awesome. I can't even explain it. I'm still kind of choked up about it a little bit because it was an emotional trip. It was uh, that's me right there at the end, just basically doing my pose. Right, I've got my American flag tattoo on my arm. So this means a lot to me, being able to, and this is not my first time seeing the Statue of Liberty, but it was awesome. And my son, this is something that he is going to remember for the rest of his life. He is never going to forget this, right? I mean, this is going to be one of those memories that is burned into his young mind. I'm influencing him. First of all, I'm teaching him how to appreciate freedom. And second of all, I'm kind of teaching him some of the things that a lot of people had to go through when they came to America, leaving tyranny. That's the reason they came here. And isn't it sad that now we're turning into that same system that they were trying to escape from? Think about that. These are the reasons why it's important to go to these places. You can't teach people history if you don't even know it yourself, right? And that's something that people need to take into consideration here. So yeah, that was New York in the there again, and let's pause that right there. So that's just me kind of messing around and everything. And like I say, you can see where the old twin towers used to be, right, on 9/11 when everybody knows what happened there, and then the new tower got rebuilt back in its place. And so here again, being right in between that landmark and the Statue of Liberty, it gives you a feeling unlike anything you could experience anywhere else. So this video right here is where my phone broke. It was actually it was actually a pretty long recording, but my phone broke and stopped recording. I was still able to take some photos, but this actually kind of messed up the whole rest of the trip. So I really didn't take a lot after this point. I really just kind of made this my highlight. Go into Manhattan. So after I left there, we have to go around, and I actually went up through the north side through Turner Tunnel, and it came up through the north side down through Manhattan that way. And then we went to 8th Avenue, and the whole Times Square and all that kind of stuff. So we did do a lot more adventures. We did some walking and stuff, but I didn't really take, again, my phone broke on me, so I wasn't really to do a whole lot else. But my son had never been like this, trying to like watching like the homeless people on the side of the streets and stuff. It was very overwhelming to see that type of environment, very, very different from Oklahoma for sure, right? But still just so many awesome buildings and so many tall, big things, and just something that the average person doesn't really get to see a lot of. This photo right here was kind of my favorite because I kind of thought that it looked like the gates to heaven, right? I mean, it kind of looks almost like God is like sitting there in between the glass and the steel, like saying, "Hey, this is kind of like the stairway to heaven type of thing." So that photo was kind of that. Okay, over with my intro and everything. Shit. So that's it, really. That was kind of the trip. We did quite a few more things. We stayed in Manhattan for a few days. Man, I'll tell you, there are some shysters there. Yeah, we had to park in this parking lot, and the sign literally said $55 for 24-hour parking. And we parked there. We went to the hotel, and the dude was like, "You're gonna have to pay me." It was like $180 for 24. I was like, "Dude, you can go suck a dick," right? So even though I had already spent $55 there, apparently that was only good for 6 hours and not 24 hours. Even though the sign clearly said 24 hours, 50. Anyway, my point is that there is a culture of, I mean, it's just the New York culture, right? I mean, call it the whatever, the mafia or whatever, I mean, there's just a very different type of personality in New York. And if you don't know how to kind of act around those people, it can get pretty dicey, right? And here again, I mean, it's nothing for me, but like my son was very surprised being exposed to that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Where it was like, man, why is everybody acting like this? And it's like, man, this is just New York. It's kind of survival of the fittest type of environment. Again, it's a concrete jungle, right? But anyway, kind of getting back to the beginning of this, I really want people to really understand how important it is to do little things like go on trips with your kids and see new places and experience new things. I can't remember, don't quote me on this, but I believe on the US State Department website you can look at the number of percentages of how many Americans own passports. And I believe right now, here again, don't quote me on this, I might be wrong, but I believe right now it's only like 7% of Americans even own a passport. And I can't imagine being in a country as prosperous as we are and not taking advantage of worldwide travel. I mean, airline travel is not that expensive anymore. Hotels, yeah, I mean, it takes some savings. I'm not saying that anybody can do it. I'm very fortunate that I can kind of pack up and go whenever I want to go, but it's something that people should want to do. You should want to be able to get out and explore. I know people who have literally never left their hometowns, let alone their county, their state, or this country. They've never gone beyond their basically their city perimeter. And I know people like this. I have relatives like this, right? And it's like, man, you guys have got to get out and you've got to start exploring. But at the bare minimum, if you can't do that, just spend time with your kids doing something. Even if it's just having a conversation, spend time with your kids doing something. So, with that, man, I hope y'all enjoyed this episode. I'm working on some good stuff. Please be patient with me. Keep ringing in those numbers. Keep hitting those subscription buttons. YouTube, Rumble, I've got all kinds of stuff going on. Probably going to start rolling this back on Patreon. And I will probably also start doing some things, maybe like some shorts and merchandise and all that kind of stuff. I am planning to do a giveaway for my 1,000th subscriber on YouTube. So since I just created my YouTube channel and since I just started putting videos out, I don't expect this to happen overnight, but I am planning on giving I'm thinking about either doing some sort of like maybe a shotgun or maybe an AR-15. I'm thinking about doing a giveaway like that for my 1,000th subscriber on YouTube, not on Rumble, on YouTube. But I might do the same thing for Rumble. Hell, give me some ideas, guys. I mean, tell me what you think you'd like to see, and let's make this happen. If you want to be a guest on here, don't hesitate to reach out. I'd love to talk to you. If you're a veteran, I want to hear your story. If you're a veteran and you own a nonprofit, let me know and so I can sponsor it for you. I'll put it out there as much as I can. Anyway, I appreciate y'all, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again soon. So till next time, stay tuned.